some type of countdown before you just gotta. How are you?
Recording, you are live.
Oh man, y'all got the Stevie Eisenman card. Oh, what's so bad? Play some type of intro. That's been part of the fun of doing Skype, because I used to always wonder back in the days of listening to the 5-minute podcast, and I would hear that doon 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 little tone. I was like, oh, well, that was Skype they were listening to. And they were calling people on. So that's what that sound was. So,
first time
anyway,
I thought that was a jingle for the show.
So, I'm Jared, by the way.
And Josh, it is good to be here, my man.
Happy Mother's Day to everybody. Whether you are a mother or not, you have one, so happy Mother's Day to everybody.
Absolutely, man. Hope y'all had a good
day.
Yeah. Mother's Day bottoms up. Have a good one now. I hope you've had a good one.
Yeah, man. That's, what I'm getting at. But I had to bother the man to get him on the phone to talk about this stupid ass wrestling show.
Pay-per-view.
I was just, the curiosity just got the best of me when it comes to this one, just because I just had to see it. I wanted to see how are you going to do this? And in a weird way, because the only matches on the show I cared anything about were the 2 Money in the Bank matches going on simultaneously, but kind of not, and the Bray and Braun thing. And anything that Bray is part of is what I'm interested in. Yeah. And, they're back to just totally burying Bray Wyatt again. So
sounds about right.
Corona has won.
sounds about right, man. The Bray Wyatt thing, 1000% feels like the latest in this is a big jump, but it's true. It's the Zack Ryder. You get over exactly how much we want you to, when we want you to, and don't step a foot outside. It's like, okay, but that's the problem with a guy like that. Yeah. Bray Wyatt is the Kenny Omega that you actually did sign. Kenny Omega's terrible in AEW, and we'll review the little 6-man they did, because that was terrible. Everything Kenny does is not Sun, Moon, and Stars wonderful. But as far as the creativity, he gets to do it. Sometimes it's crap, but he gets to do it. Bray Wyatt is the Kenny Omega that you did sign, and it's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. It's like, and for Braun Strowman, why in the world? I mean, again, I know that politically, Braun Strowman's their hero, because he'll get out there on social media and say all those talking points that they love so much, and it's like, this is the most pitiful thing. It's a perfect example of Colin Kaepernick takes a knee. Keep your politics out of sports, but if you'll go out and do talking points, Vince will pat you on the. I hate it. It's so stupid. But yeah, just the process.
Dust up on the Twitter.
Oh God, it's like whatever, man. But for Braun Strowman to pick that guy to be the guy, I'm like, whatever, man.
I'll just I get every match that I picked. I got wrong tonight, which is I guess more reason why. They do have betting for this stuff in Vegas, because I would totally get it all wrong. As predictable as some of it can be, I get it wrong. And it's the fact that you had, I guess that's how they qualified. Is like, listen, wrestling nerds, Braun Strowman beat Bray Wyatt. He did not beat The Fiend. I'm still Vince. So it's like, oh, that makes it better. Just no, it was the most interesting anybody has made Braun Strowman in a very long time, and you still messed it up.
It's that guy whose name you can't say anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh, definitely. I think one of the things that made it suck too is just like having a Bray Wyatt match, a Fiend match that has anything to do with the title. It's just like, man, this is just dumb. It's like, why is this even around? It's stupid.
I could not possibly agree more. The mistake was not Goldberg beat Bray Wyatt in 4 seconds to win the championship. It was that the Fiend had the belt in the first place. I agree with you totally. That guy, that character in particular, is so beyond a title. And even when he comes out with his little custom belt, you know what? If I walk to Walmart and see the toy of it, I'll get it. But I just don't think that's what's going to happen. Anyway, I'm starting to get sidetracked. But yeah, that was the stupid part of that, is having that character tied up with the title in any way. So stupid, man.
And so I really thought, well, they're probably going to end up putting it right back on him just because. And then they did what they did, and I was like, okay, it seems like a waste of everybody's time, but whatever.
It's even worse.
Yeah. And if there's one good part of the show tonight is it's the typical setup of, the Performance Center style, is going back to that, hearing what guys say in the ring. When you get a guy like R-Truth out there, like it's a comedy routine going on during the match, and they really need to look into more of this. Anytime you can get a guy out there and do it, he's just hilarious to me. And that was one. If there's something good that can be said about some of the undercard, it was that. So I look even more forward to him being around doing other stuff. As long as that guy's been around, it's like, keep this guy around to do funny stuff like that, and it'll all work out.
One of my favorite things in wrestling 2020, and boy, there ain't many, but I do love the fact that on the one show you have R-Truth, who he's just an entertaining dude, man. His matches are fun. He's hilarious when he's trying to do comedy. We don't ever see like non-comedy anymore, but he can do it.
Yeah.
Killings is a really underrated guy, and I love that. Yeah. And I like that he's in the spot now to where he just keeps getting used, and that's cool. You go to the other show, and you've got Dustin Rhodes doing the best matches he's done in years. And I love the fact that the Golden Truth, who were thrown together for absolutely no reason and produced the greatest WWE t-shirt of all time. I'm still so mad at myself for not getting that. I'm sick over not having bought that. I should have, because that was. Yeah. It's a great shirt. Oh man, Golden Truth, awesome. It's even better if it's completely context free. If you have no idea what that thing is, it's so much better. I can't believe I didn't order that. But I love the fact that both halves of the Golden Truth are both doing so good now, man, because I'm with you. I like both those dudes, and I'm like, God, that's awesome.
Yep.
But Ron, the first time I saw you go first.
I just what you're saying is that I think R-Truth has been one of those guys, like, whatever crap they give him, I'm going to make it good.
It is incredible. That's an absolute fantastic assessment of what that guy. It don't matter. It does not matter what you hand him. I'm glad I've seen it once it's over. He's cool, man. That guy's awesome. Like, even when it's just like, okay, come out and sing your theme song. That was cool when he would come out and do that, and the whole crowd. I mean, he's just good at everything. I was going to say the first time I ever saw him was real early in the TNA days when they had the old NWA title and all that, and he was the champ.
Yeah.
And he was just straight up working matches. He was awesome then too, man. I think about that a lot, actually. I did some shopping the other day, and I'm very happy to say, because I was worried about this, and I need to, I got rid of some wrestling DVDs that I shouldn't have got rid of. The top of the list being Champion, the TNA Kurt Angle match compilation. I don't know why I ever got rid of that, but I was thinking that it was out of print and therefore really expensive, but it's not. And I'm like, good.
I think that's pretty easy to get.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. So I'm like, oh, thank goodness, man, because WWE did the Kurt Angle match comp, and that's great. But as far as WWE, if you're doing it with no Benoit, I know you can't do it with Benoit, but I just don't need it.
It's a glaring, it's a big gap.
It's true. Same thing with Jericho, with the Break the Walls Down or whatever it was called. Excuse me. Or Code Breaker, I think was I don't remember now. But anyway, the guys that had such, and I hate to be that way because we've already discussed that I'm not trying to say that, well, WWE should put Chris Benoit on there. I know why they don't. What I'm trying to say is I wish that they could.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sorry to get sidetracked. But yeah, Angle and TNA was awesome. Ryan Killings was awesome. But I was thinking about that, like the old NWA title when they had it. And I was like, they got rid of that pretty quick. And then I remembered that Christian had that. That was when he was champion down there. That was still the old NWA title. And I'm like, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Made it look good.
Man, Captain Charisma was another one of those things where I'm so glad he went and did that, because people talk about Drew McIntyre and TNA, and they talk about Bobby Lashley and Impact and all that, and it's like, man, go check the Christian stuff out, because he knew that, well, that guy, he bet on himself. That guy actually truly did. He well and truly did, and it was basically he looked around and knew that his tag team, his buddy, was the guy. So I'm gonna go over here and be the guy over here. So it's kind of cool that I think that I'm pretty sure that was around the same time the Rated R Superstar and Captain Charisma. I think those were roughly at the same. I need to look that up now, because that'd be rad if they were like champs of each of the big companies at the time. That'd be cool.
It was close, if not an overlap, but wasn't off by much. I still believe it wasn't long after Christian came back and he had Edge had his retirement, and that put him in that 3-match series with Randy Orton. That was some of the best matches in a long time for either one of those guys for me.
That's cool, man.
So I dug those a lot.
Christian's one of those guys that I hate to say it, man, because I had to stop listening to their podcast because he's just too much of a dick, and I don't like him. But professionally, I love him. I like his work. I always loved his work, man. And it's that Ziggler thing, man, where there's just certain guys that are so good at that. I don't even want to say enhancement, because it's not just them putting guys over. Like, okay, I'm going to do the job again. It's just like whatever match you set up for them, you're going to look like gold. They are so good at that. Ricky Morton. Again, I hate to use enhancement because that's the new fashionable word for jobber. And that's not what they did. It's like when you're in there, when Christian was NWA champion, he really worked it like an NWA champ. Because if he was in there with you, he would make people think whoever he was in there with had a chance. They had a chance. And Corny and Last kill everybody at AEW for that now. Like, well, they're just giving way too much to these nothing guys. Nobody knows the roster. You can't have it both ways. You can't talk about how nobody knows who any of these guys are, and then when they try to put the shine on the guys, well, they're giving them too much. Well, how the hell does anybody know they're giving them too much and they don't know who they are?
Yeah.
This stuff gets old to me, man. And they're not wrong. Every match on that show is way too long. It's got that very much that Ring of Honor indie vibe where everyone gets 15 minutes, and not everybody needs 15 minutes. They just don't. But anyhow, I've gotten way sidetracked. I'm sorry. We were talking about the Money in the Toilet match tonight.
The money and the risk of the reward of the corporate ladder.
Yeah, seriously.
But that's kind of what got me to this show, is like I wanted to see how they were going to do the Money in the Bank match, and in a weird way, it was exactly what you had pictured. There's kind of not enough room in the corporate office to be doing what they were doing, and the corporate office now, I'm sure it was state of the art in like 1987.
My word.
But the feeling that I get about the WWE corporate office and all these vast, huge conference rooms with nothing going on in them is kind of the same way you would hear these stories about people that got to go to the Playboy Mansion when he was still alive, and they'd bring them in there and be like, check this out, we got video games, it's called Pac-Man.
So, whoa, thanks, Ev.
Where are you going? Where are you going?
What do you mean?
Huh? That's the feeling that you get. It's still, the mirrored gym with the neon around the top that the guys start in. And then they had everybody get introduced, and they just kind of walk out, and they're just kind of standing there. And you go like, how's this match going to start? Why would you do it that way? And everybody's just kind of looking around like, let's go.
Let's fight, guys.
And the women are in the main lobby, and they're just kind of standing there next to each other like, this just, y'all had time to think of something better than this bull mess, and this is what you came up with. And so, at least for the most part, when it comes to the women, they started theirs in with what they had set up. Like, okay, I could see why you had all the girls standing there because Asuka's going to jump off on them from the little balcony above the elevators, and the first thing she does is get on the elevator like a smart person would.
Yeah, seriously.
And that's pretty much the long and short of it. Is like, okay, there's not enough room to really do a whole lot of stuff. And it's like, what guys are we going to bring back to do cameos that we're not even going to want to see in the first place? Was the other thing. So you have these cameos from Bruce Pritchard shows up as Brother Love.
Jesus.
Laurinaitis shows up as the GM's like, nobody wants you here.
How on earth do you start with Bruce Pritchard and then go down? Holy crap.
Yeah.
It's like this very, very difficult to get lower than Bruce, but by God, they made it work.
For some reason, and why this was even a thing, it could have been, if you wanted to do it, go ahead and do it fine, because you can paint anybody up to be this character, and they're them. But for some reason, Dwight the Clown, his head pops up from behind a chair, and he has a collared shirt on, knowing that you just kind of showed up, and whoever it was that was playing that role, that if you ain't got anything better than that, then don't do it. If you can't put a black T-shirt on, something, but you're in a collared Oxford shirt, why in the hell are you walking around that way?
Doesn't make any sense at all, man.
And
you're doing okay.
and it really felt like it, and it builds up to the food fight in catering, which is basically just another empty conference room from this building that we're getting thrown out of, that Paul Heyman just happens to be sitting there eating all the catering, because that's what fat guys do. That's hilarious.
Yeah, oh my God, Paul Heyman, he's a fat guy. He'd be eating all the food.
Oh,
yeah, I'm telling you, that Vince, boy, he's the cutting edge of comedy.
Yes.
And Mae Young shows up. He's
got pull the roots out.
Paul Heyman eats all the food. He's got a puke. And Mae Young comes out and farts on him. It's like, dude, I was talking to my brother one day, I was watching the tape one day. And he's like, man, Vince McMahon is like a fourth grader with like the crap he thinks is funny. And he's absolutely right, man. It's like, what happened to you, man? How'd you get stuck, bro?
It was Arrested Development, very early on. and I guess the ultimate cameo that everybody was waiting on, like how we're gonna shoehorn this in, it felt like there was a lot of the spots that like were only for certain people. You had the only two guys that were over enough to wrestle into Vince's office were Daniel Bryan and AJ, and they're instantly like scared to even be in there. Like, oh, let's put the chairs back. Sorry,
God.
that kind of thing. And they had some stupid ass spot where it's the girls have wrestled into another, guess what, empty conference room, and
you'll never guess.
You never guess.
You never guess.
And in this one, we're gonna have a fake Money in the Bank title, briefcase. And Dana Brooks so stupid, she's gonna be. She's gonna think, oh, we made it to the top of the roof. Let me go ahead and get it. And then I'm gonna grab it down, and I'm gonna be like,
Dana Brooks so stupid.
And we
then
can't
they found
even.
out that Dana Brooks had been shim-shammed.
And the audience got shim-shammed because we can't even care enough to have Stephanie actually show up and set everything straight. Like, Dana, you're retarded. That's not even.
You're inside, right?
But to in Dana's defense, like, why'd you put the sticker on it?
Yeah, seriously.
The sticker's on it.
Hey,
it's
man.
clear. It's got money in it. I am the winner. So they didn't even care enough to have Stephanie actually show up and do this as they're recording it. it's like done as like a tape message, and honestly, it felt kind of like there was a lot of parts of this match kind of they feel like, oh no, we forgot to cover this up,
That's
so we got to
awesome.
go back and put something in there. To be like Stephanie showed to be like, Dana, what are you doing? You know?
It's Poochie the Rockin' Dog like leaving.
Yeah.
Oh, my planet needs me. Heard.
Bye bye.
It's way back to whatever planet Poochie died.
And it's building up to the roof. And how do they get us to the roof? Because that's the other thing they didn't think about. Like, how are we going to get all these people out there? And it, kind of makes sense. So they get us out there by Baron Corbin saying, "I'm going to the roof." Cut to, we're on the roof. Honest to God, no BS. That's what happened. But when you get to the roof, when the actual ladder match starts, I kind of knew, I had this feeling in my stomach that they had been advertising this match like they're going to be happening simultaneously, knowing they're not going to let the girls get out there with guys swinging ladders and crap like that around. So the women started off, and it felt like number one, not all the ladies were out there because they didn't have enough room for everybody to be out there doing stuff. From what I could tell from the notes I took, Carmella, Dana, and Shayna don't even show up on the roof. It's just Nia, Asuka, and Lacey. That is it. If they were out there, then they cut around them pretty damn good.
Tell me that Shayna Baszler is not the new one-woman Sanity revival. I mean, just the ridiculous.
Anything we can do to make her just look asinine.
Gone. It's like that is the most ridiculous thing in the world because, like you and I talked about, and I think we'll get to NXT in a second, man, because we'll talk about. Did you watch Charlotte and EO?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of us.
It's not even that they kind of could have them soft shoe out there and make an appearance. Like, they didn't even bother. Just have them come out and do something. Because Shayna's who I picked to win it in the first place. But you have Nia, Asuka, and Lacey out there being the women's representatives to be the Money in the Bank match. And it kind of dawned on them like, oh yeah, we said it'd be going on simultaneously. How are we going to get the guys out there? So you get the guys out there by having Asuka climbing the ladder about to win, Baron climbing up the other side, and her kicking him in the face. Why he would even go in for that move is just dumb. It's like, set up another ladder, be like, you go for yours, I'll go for mine, leave me alone. And it was just that was their way to it happened simultaneously.
Oh God!
You got that Steve Osmond card? Oh, watch him up.
It would have been a lot funnier if he climbed to the top of the ladder to get in her face, not to try and win, not to try and take the briefcase, but to tell Asuka, Dana already won.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot
this match is over.
This is over. Get off my ladder.
Shouldn't be happening.
Seriously.
These refs mean nothing.
And for somebody
that's still down there. There's always him.
For a company so obsessed with scripting, you think they could script something. Like you said, but when you have this much time, like, what is wrong with y'all? Oh, my God, what is wrong with y'all? Sweet Pete Almighty.
So we get the ladies' match is concluded. They have won. So there is a winner. And I'm fine with it being Asuka. I had Shayna picked, but, that would have been my number 2 if I could have picked the number 2. That leads us to the guys, and in the same fashion as the ladies' match, we got to get some guys out of here pretty early because we don't have enough room for all this crap to go on. And the whole match had been, for the guys anyway, had been beat the living hell out of Rey Mysterio tonight match. And so it was very early in the match, and we knew that was going to be another one of the jokes, like, who's getting thrown off the side? Little did we know it would be, number one, Rey Mysterio by Baron Corbin to go right into the second guy. Right behind him is Aleister Black. Like, y'all couldn't space that out just a hair? I mean, it was literally one right after the other. It's like, this is just asinine and dumb. If Daniel Bryan was out there, I missed him. I think he pulled the long straw to be like, I don't have to go out there. Great. Fine. Leave me alone. Good. I'm good. And he couldn't be out there because of the finish. We got to have another guy. It's social distancing, brother.
Yeah, for
we
real.
got to have somebody else come out there and take this up. There's only so much room out there. And honestly, it was, as far as the finish goes, because there's really nothing else to talk about in this match other than the finish. Probably one of the more, to me, it can only be done by somebody like AJ Styles, and it's a very athletic move to where you have AJ going up one side, Baron going up the other. They're both arguing over the briefcase, have the briefcase off the hook, and Elias comes out, and you barely see him. And I don't think he's even mentioned by the announce crew, but he costs Baron the match by hitting him with the guitar. Baron falls, and in one motion, and it looked, and I know it could have been taped a few times to get it down, but AJ never has control of it as far as like it was a catch, but is able to send it over to Otis in the ring, who catches it and is the winner. And so AJ is who I had picked to win, and I was like, oh well. But from all reports I've heard through this podcast, this YouTube channel, this thing, Vince is just all up Otis's butt since Mania. But it's one of those kind of things like, well, maybe they'll. I don't know if heavy machinery is still a thing or not. It doesn't really matter. They're a tag team, so F them as far as Vince is concerned. So that's neither here nor there. But I get Vince liking Otis. I don't get him liking him to the point that he likes him.
That's me with Corbin. I don't. Yeah. I will never understand the fascination with Baron Corbin, especially when you consider that NXT went to ROH and got the actual Baron Corbin they should have got with Damian Priest is his name now. That kid is great, man. Yeah. So I think Corbin's a waste of time. Otis is okay, but it's like I asked you earlier, man. If you were going to go all in on Otis, which is to say all in on Mandy, because Mandy's, of course, there's 9,000 blonde girls in WWE, just Vince's type, makes total sense. But if you're going to go all in on them, why in the world did you fire that lady that wrote the scripts that made them what they were? And like we talked about earlier, man, the biggest thing in that feud, it never gets props for it, but we'll give them props for it. If you wrote a three-way, like a triangle match between myself, the Yellow Pages, and Dolph Ziggler, me and the phone book would look great. That kid is unbelievable how good and underrated he is. I love Ziggler, so that helped. When you put him in there, you make the guy look great, cool. Yeah. But as far as the boy-girl stuff, people really bought it. People really liked it. So, man, if you were going to do something with that guy, why in the world did you get rid of that writer? That just doesn't make any sense at all, man. Anyhow, I'm glad the ending of it was at least something cool. You come up with like creative things like that, it's cool. Like what's a good example? Basically, the Money in the Bank history for Shelton Benjamin, the Royal Rumble history for Kofi Kingston. When you have guys that can do really creative stuff and you keep putting them in a spot to do it, that's cool. And you can do that stuff with AJ. I think that, the RKO, I think, is one of the more overrated moves of all time. Carl Anderson's about to be in a spot where he can do it again. So if you haven't seen Carl Anderson do a stunner or a diamond cutter, you're in for a treat, because that brother, Tama Tonga, basically does it almost just like Carl Anderson does, but for some reason, somehow, Carl's is even cooler. So be prepared. It'll blow your mind. But the one to Cesaro off the ladder, of all the ones he's done, that's the one I think is the most impressive because it's Cesaro. What can you not do with him? Amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm getting way sidetracked, and whatever. It's like whatever. Again, I'm glad Asuka won, but they're not doing with Asuka what I wish they had done with her, and I wish that Asuka was doing now what they got Charlotte doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand you want to jimmy the ratings and put Charlotte on NXT so more people will watch. All right. But then why is Rhea Ripley showing up? If Rhea wasn't leaving, you never should have took the belt off of her. Because that match didn't bother me. I didn't have a problem with Charlotte winning as long as Rhea's going up. But she ain't. Because the whole point was, in my opinion, if you move Rhea up, okay, Charlotte's got the belt. And then you build towards her and Bianca Belair. Well, shoot, you took the belt off Rhea, then moved her up, and Bianca went up. And it's like, I don't know what you idiots are doing. None of this makes any sense to me at all. But, sorry, I guess I'm transitioning into the NXT show. But Charlotte Io was cool. I liked it. I thought having the run in at the end, okay, whatever, man, whatever you got to do. But anyway, it was still cool. That was a good match. And, man, I can't remember who else was on. I know it was Dream and Adam Cole, and that was it's Dream and Adam Cole. They're fine. Yeah. They're always going to be fine. I'm sorry, so there was something else. Oh man, we have to talk about the Karrion Kross. Oh man, is that the greatest entrance ever? I'm like, it's NXT, baby. In my opinion, the greatest entrance in NXT history is always going to be Nakamura in Dallas, because people wanted to shake that building down. It's fantastic. But as far as just the spectacle of the entrance, I love Nakamura. I always loved his entrance, but Bobby Roode's got to be the guy. I had no idea what they were doing. I thought it was hilarious and fantastic, and then they did it again, and it was fantastic, and then they brought the chorus out, and it was. I've gotten sidetracked. But Courtney and Last had a fit over. Well, he's Mark Marrow. She's the star. I don't know what they're gonna do here because the girl's the deal. And it's like, yeah, the girl was the deal when they were Scarlett Bordeaux and Killer Cross. They were a package deal, which basically means she's the show. Yeah. That's always been the case. It's always been the case, man. But their review of that match ticked me off a little bit because it's all like, well, he's just out there mugging to the camera and he's supposed to be methodical, but it's just slow and boring. And I'm like, yeah, it's because they tell everybody that's supposed to be the kick-ass heel, work like Randy. That's what they've got all of them doing. So it's methodical. No, it's boring. Harley Race was methodical. Randy Orton is plotting. Killer Cross or Karrion Kross or whatever it is. But the name didn't bother me quite as bad. I'm assuming that Courtney and Last don't know what a Karrion Crow is because the definition of carrying is actually kind of cool. So I think it's like, oh man, this is messed up, dude.
We can't have anybody with the name Killer on our show anymore.
We're not going to do Killer Cross, and he probably wasn't going to sell it to him anyway. But that's the whole thing. Is man, you're not going to be Killer anymore. But do you know what carrying is? Look it up because it's pretty intense, man. Oh, that's cool. But anyway,
crows are mean.
Yeah, seriously, man. But it's like the idea of, well, she's the star, la-di-da. Of course, yeah, man. And the lip syncing, I don't think they're going to do that every time. I hope they don't do it every time. I thought it was great for the entrance. The first time she walks down and lip syncs the song, that was cool. But nah, you don't need that going forward. Just have the two of them come out and do that thing and la-di-da. Because basically, for that match, I like her doing the lip syncing because what's she going to do in that match? He's going to go out and kill the guy. Don't need any interference or any help or anything. But when you go forward and you've got the valet tripping the guy, poking the guy in the eye, stuff like that, hey, man, she won't need to sing the song. There's places to go. They're very weird to me about that. And they're much worse to AEW than they are NXT. But they do it on NXT, too, where, it's way back now, but it was Cameron Grimes and, what's his dadgum name, man? Mustache Mountain. Not Trent Seven, but the one that wrestled.
Tyler.
Thank you. Yeah, with them, kind of messing with each other, and he knocks him out. And a lot of guys went, hey, you just buried Cameron Grimes. I'm like, you don't think they're going to wrestle next week? Well, I booked this stuff for 30 years. Yeah, you did. So I would think you'd be smart enough to realize, oh, yeah, we're going to do something with this. Anyhow, I don't mean to be silly about that. But NXT was fun. AEW I've been off of for a long time, but I heard such good reviews. I went back and watched it this week, and I got to tell you, I hated it, man. I absolutely hated it. I just didn't. Excuse me. I can't remember what I saw that I liked. I saw that Moxley and Kazarian were wrestling each other. And immediately, I'm not a Moxley guy, and I'm not. And this really confirmed it for me because my spidey sense went off, and I'm like, you can't have a good match with Frankie Kazarian. You can't have a good match.
Yeah.
And it wasn't good. It just wasn't anything. And I'm like, ugh, okay. And in the main event, you had it was Omega and Matt Hardy against Jericho and Guevara. And I don't get Sammy Guevara. I don't understand why everyone kisses his ass as much as they do. I don't get it. It's the same thing with MJF. I don't understand the love affair for MJF. On the stick, his matches I love. I've always enjoyed his matches because he begs off like the chicken shit that he's supposed to be. But in a show where you constantly whine about people looking like middle schoolers and not having impressive bodies, how the hell you give Sammy Guevara a pass? I don't get it. I know that you love Chris Jericho and he can do no wrong, but I'm here to tell you, it doesn't make that guy any good. But that match, way too convoluted, way too just way too much crap, man. And I don't know, it's just like whatever, y'all. So I guess it was easy come, easy go with AEW. I'm like, well, I haven't watched this in a while. I should check it out. And I did. And I'm like, once the revival show up, I'll be more than happy to set the tape and fast forward to their match. But it's like, man, this show, it's just way too WWE for me. That's what I don't like about them. It's like, well, it's supposed to be sport-based wrestling, la-di-da. Well, if you didn't know that was bullshit from day one, I don't know what to tell you. Wins and losses have never mattered in wrestling, and they're not gonna. I don't care how much the promoter tells you they are going to. They're not. That's just dumb. Yeah. Being upset by that, stupid. But being upset that they've literally just turned it into, well, it's like Raw, but with more matches. Well, like you lost me at like Raw.
Mm-hmm.
God, man. Ridiculous. Anyway, I'm sorry, I got way afield, but my wrestling excursions this week have not been positive, and I'm all pissed off about it, I guess, man. But I have been watching my old Memphis tapes, and my God, those make me feel better, because Austin Idol's the man. I love that guy so much. It's Austin Idol and Tommy Rich, which I can say this on behalf of both of us. Excuse me, I'm watching these old videos. And but dude, being from Georgia, you can back me up on this. Being from Georgia, the notion of Tommy Rich being a heel is the most foreign thing any of us could possibly imagine, because he's Walmart Tommy Rich. But he was a good heel. He's just a crap talking. He was, dude, him and Idol were fun. It's quite cool. They wound up having matches with it's tag matches, the two of them against Jerry Lawler and Bam Bam Bigelow, when he looks like he just got out of high school, man. It's awesome. It's very, very impressive to see that dude. He was always impressive. Bigelow was always like, God, man, agility and crazy, good God. But when he was a kid, it's like, this is terrifying, man. Anyway, that wrestling has been fun. Watching all the old Memphis crap has been real good for me. I've loved it.
Cool. Man, I had a pleasant surprise when it comes to the dark side of the ring.
Yeah.
And I dug the Herb Abrams episode way, way more than I expected to, just because I went in, like the past couple of them, not really knowing a whole lot, and really kind of thinking, well, this is going to be they're dipping the toe of the water of doing the Paul Heyman episode when they ever get a chance to do that. I thought it was, honest to God, just going to be let's bury this guy episode. And because hearing what little bit I did hear about him going into it, like, it's like, how are we going to make this guy redeeming? And then they did it. Because you're kind of like, you have guys like Brian Blair and Foley show up to do it. So like, well, they cared enough to do it. So that's gives me an idea that what they're saying was legit. And then the guys that you had never seen or heard of before, honest to God, loved this guy so much that we want to tell his story. And even when they're telling the early part of the story, it's kind of like, you're telling the story about this guy that just like burned. I guess he burns some bridges, just does nothing but blow and waste money all day. And you're like, but at the end of the episode, it's like we just freaking loved this guy, and it was really these guys that aren't good enough actors to have that for that to have not been real. You had a guy that Steve Ray was one of the guys that worked in the Universal Wrestling Federation, and was one of the guys that when it comes to and you could tell that he was like a friend. And the guy Sonny Beach, that I was like, every time they said the name, I was like, are they talking about Sonny? But they would say it real quick. And I was like, Sonny who? And he had one of the best lines of the night when it gets to the point where I believe that Herb Abrams is dead. There's a Colonel Red is there's the manager for the UWF that he would always be going back and forth with, who he tried to put out the notion that there was a promotion done somewhere in Carolina or Tennessee, one of the two, under the name UWF after Herb had passed, and supposedly this person showed up saying they were going to sue him, they're going to do all this, that, and other thing for using that name. I was like, and it just, that story just kind of like, even with Mick, he's kind of like, I don't buy that bullshit. if Herb was around, you'd know.
Yeah.
And, but Sonny Beach is telling the story of like they finally get him to say like, man, this was a guy that just believed in me, and he like breaks down. You're like, oh man, that was real. And Brian Blair thought he had the line of the night to end on, and he almost did. So he looks right in the camera, and he's like, Herb Abrams died. I just know he died doing the two things he loved, cocaine and hookers. We could have cut the black on that. And they went to commercial on it. But the go to black line is when they sit back down with Mick, and he's like, what? And after he said, like, I don't believe that Herb is still with us. I believe when... And there's no clear... story of exactly what happened as far as when he passed. You just know it happened that night when he's doing his hooker and blow thing. That man loved his hookers. And
that was shoot.
that was shoot, brother. And who don't like a good stripper every once in a while? But I've never gotten to that level of going full on hooker with everybody. But it was, you don't know if it happened in the hotel room, in the police car, at the police station, but at some point in the night, his heart gives out on account of the coke, and he's gone. and Mick's shooting down that Colonel Red story, like, if this guy was here, you would know. And they asked him, like, well, what do you think Herb Abrams would be doing if he was alive today? He just looked right at him without missing a beat, like, time. It's like, that's what you close the show on. That's, Brian Blair almost had the end line, but Mick was there. So it's and that's, it's just a cool episode. It's a nice kind of it's hard to say this story was a kickback and just enjoy it show when you're talking about a guy blowing ungodly amounts of money and almost we're just waiting to hear that news how he's not with us anymore. So I think everybody was kind of like, yeah, kind of saw that coming. Yeah. And there was I don't recall the guy's name, but it was one of the basically the director of the show, and he was really emotional about the fact that I think he really took offense to the story of Herb still being here. It's like he would not do that. And, I'm the guy that had to call and tell people he was gone. So there's just no way that's even possible. Yeah. So we're looking forward to, I think it's the Road Warriors.
The Road Warriors!
The Road Warriors!
Not the Road Warriors!
The Road Warriors will be Tuesday, and I want to say after that it might be Owen, and that'll be the season.
It's about that time.
I think. So I'm definitely, going to be two high ones to end the season on. So that's going to be tons of fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Somebody I read somewhere was discussing the Road Warriors one, and it's like, man, I hope it's not just an hour about how Hawk's an alcoholic. And I'm like, you might want to watch something else then, because what else you gonna talk about? Basically, I want somebody.
He was into roids too.
Yeah, for real. I want somebody to come out and make the point that I hadn't even thought about until I was thinking about the Road Warriors. Because you and I were talking about Goldberg not too long ago, and I was explaining that the Goldberg thing never did it for me. And I finally realized why, and it's because I grew up on the Road Warriors. I'd already seen that. It's like when I was a little kid, it's like, yeah, man, this unstoppable force just comes in and beats the crap out of guys. Yeah, that's awesome. But when the Road Warriors would work hard in Tully, they had to work. Goldberg would go out and beat the top level guys in 3 minutes, and I just hated that. But anyway, it was mainly just like the little kid superhero thing I got, and then I got over it. Because it's not like me and Chacho had that conversation one day about when they put the Road Warriors DVDs out. Is it, man, you getting those? I'm like, who wants to go back and rewatch Road Warrior matches, man? I mean, it's like, dude, you don't need to. Dude, you don't need to. It's like, nah, man, like the Road Warrior thing. I found this video. I probably shouldn't say this, but I will. There's a video on YouTube now that is Prince and the Revolution. I've been doing a lot of Prince lately, especially with, I'll mention this real quick because we like to do shout outs for people that pass. Little Richard going sucks. That sucks because that really is. I mean, Richard, it's always the joke that Richard always talks about how he invented rock and roll and he always pats himself on the back for it. But the man was not telling you a lie. He did. Mm-hmm. Little Richard's the most rock and roll individual that's ever lived. And for all my punk rock people that happen to be watching, I will point out that Alex Cox did not dress Gary Oldman as Sid Vicious in a Little Richard t-shirt by coincidence. It's a big deal. Richard's a big deal. Richard invented punk rock 20 years before any of us had any idea that was even going to be a thing. And I miss Richard. Yeah. And Prince, obviously. I love Prince, so I put it on. But I did some YouTube searches, and a lot of live shows, like home shot videos, are on YouTube now, and they're apparently not being enforced like they used to be. And there's one from the Omni. I think it's January '85, man. Purple Rain Tour in Atlanta, and I'm like, yes, I'm watching this, and it was awesome. And I'd love to comment on the video because it's the way I feel. I was like, to this day, Prince and the Revolution are the single coolest thing I've ever seen. And the reason I bring that up in conjunction with what we're talking about now is I almost put a caveat on that quote or that comment to where it would read, to this day, Prince and the Revolution are the single coolest thing I've ever seen. And I've seen the Road Warriors come to the ring to Iron Man. When I was a little kid, that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
So I understand we're not going to pay Black Sabbath royalties, but boy, I wish they would just one time because, God, that was cool.
Yep.
Anyway, got very sidetracked. Sorry about
that. A big check to have to write on that one.
Yeah, we'd have to hook Ozzy up. By the way, it's an interesting transition to another YouTube find. Penelope Spheeris, before she became a movie director, I guess, well, no, they're all films. Shoot, I don't know. Before she started directing movies for Hollywood, she did documentaries. There was one called The Decline of Western Civilization, which was about, I'm pretty sure it's about Los Angeles punk rock in the late 70s, early 80s. And then there's Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, the metal years. And I'd watched this when I was a kid because I liked heavy metal music and it was cool. And it's on YouTube. So I'm like, cool, I'm going to watch this again. So I watched it again. And there are certain things about it that I'd forgotten. There are certain things about it that are still horrifyingly embarrassing. There's a lot of real cool stuff. A lot of real cool dudes on there just telling good stories. There's the one guy from Wasp, I think his name is Chris, and basically you're just watching somebody drink themselves slowly to death on film. I mean, it's bad. It's like when you watch that stuff and then I love Michael Moore, but Michael Moore doesn't make documentaries. Michael Moore sets his stuff up. It's real, man. When they get Chris, it's scary and you just feel bad for him. But anyway, the biggest problems with it that I have are Steven Tyler and Gene Simmons are just insufferable. I mean, it's like, would you please get your own dick out of your ass? I mean, stop. You're not as cool as you think you are. You're not that big of a deal. Stop. So Gene's doing his interview, walking around a lingerie shop with all the models, and it's so fantastic, la-di-da. And they cut to Paul Stanley, who's in bed with like 5 girls doing his little interview and all that stuff. And of course, it's all set up and all fake. But Paul's great. And Gene's a fucking loser. That guy just makes me nuts. And then Steven Tyler's even worse because apparently him and Joe had just gotten sober before they did their little documentaries or contributions for the documentary. And it's like, you guys are just the most insufferable prick 70s bloated rock stars ever. So they start talking about pretty boys doing glam and makeup and all that stuff because it's the 80s and woohoo and stuff like that. And then we go to the Authority because, oh man, this guy's a tough guy. He'll put him in check. And it's freaking Lemmy, who's out just standing in the middle of nowhere looking over the LA highway, it looks like. And the 405 dude standing over the 405, taking it north to the Guardia. Or not LaGuardia, but, where is it? Mulholland. Mulholland, where you belong. And so he's just standing out there doing his interview. Yeah, Lemmy's a tough guy. He'll sock it to those pretty boys. And so Penelope asked him, like, what do you think about pretty guys in rock and roll with all the makeup and the glam and stuff? And he's like, man, good for them. I wish I was pretty. It's like, good luck to them if they're pretty. I wish I was. But it's like, that guy's the coolest guy of all of them. Lemmy's the best. It's worth it. And also the first song that they play in the movie is Motorhead, so it's fun to listen to that. The bands that are in it, Faster Pussycat's in it, they're not great. There's a band called London that I'd never heard of before, and it's worth watching just for them because their ebbs and flows, and some of the people are depressing. Most of the kids are just delusional. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be a rock star, man. It's going to be great. All right. That's what most of them are. The guys in London have been around for a while, so they're a lot more level-headed and quite funny, and that stuff is great. Oh, man, I can't remember who else is in it now. There is a band called Odin. They're absolutely insufferable. Yeah. Their lead singer, he is such a prick, particularly when you hear them talking about, we're going to be great. We're going to be the biggest band in the world. How can you doubt? We're going to be the biggest band. Listen to us. We're great. We're good looking, and we play great music. We're going to be awesome. It's going to be great. And then you hear them, and it's like the worst Guns N' Roses knockoff ever. And it's like, no, they just made it, idiot. Ship has sailed and sunk. You're done. Yeah. But ultimately, oh, dude, that's awful. But ultimately, you wind up with Megadeth at the end. And as far as musicality and what the music sounds like, it's like, yep, they saved them for last for a reason. But it's a cool movie. It's if you like old 80s heavy metal, because it runs the gambit. I mean, you have all four guys from Poison are in the movie, but they're broken up 2 and 2. And I'm here to tell you, man, if you want to see Bret Michaels on cocaine, watch that movie, because that guy gets about 17,000 words a minute out, and he's not unlikable. He's not an unlikable dude, but it's just like, God dang, take a breath, brother. Holy crap, man. You just feel bad. It's like, this guy's heart's going to explode on camera. Yeah. Anyway, I got very sidetracked. But that movie, it's good. It's good stuff. But the Purple Rain in the Omni is banging. It's fantastic, cool. Man. It's as good as you'd expect it to be. And then when Richard passed away, I had to put Purple Rain on, which Purple Rain really is relative. There are things about it that are fantastic. In general, it's not a good movie, and it's not a good movie not because people always say the acting is so bad. It's not. Hey, man, they're musicians. I don't expect them to be genius level actors. They're not bad. Morris Day's really good. He's very funny. And then at the end, you get the scene where he makes the knock about Prince's dad, and then he has that moment of regret about it. And they knew they had something. It was good. But the problem with Purple Rain, especially in 2020, man, is it's like it's almost so difficult. And I understand the whole point is the lyric is maybe I'm just like my mother, maybe I'm just like my father too, la-di-da, stuff like that. That's the point. So with the kid beating up Apollonia, you are supposed to be mad at him, but he's doing the thing his dad did. But boy, Apollonia lets him off the hook real quick, and it's all like, you know what? 2020, it's kind of hard to make this guy the good guy. It's like, hey, take all your clothes off and jump in the creek. Okay, jump on the bike. Oh, where are you? Oh, come on. Oh, it's just like he's such a dick to her. It's like, how am I supposed to pull for this guy, man? So anyway, but the main point about the Purple Rain movie is this. It's cheap. Get a copy of it. Hit fast forward until you see somebody on a stage, and then press play. Because no matter who's on stage, when you press play, you're going to be glad you saw that. It's amazing. Yeah. I love that movie more than I should. I love it.
Heck yeah, man.
All right, that's the end of that. Man, I should have let that sit out more. It's not that it's bad. It's just, here's a note for my fellow Cabernet drinkers, which if anybody watches a Cab drinker, you guys already know this. But for God's sake, decant. Let it sit out for an hour and then drink it. It's wonderful. And like an idiot, I didn't do that. So I'm like, and then halfway through, I'm like, oh, it's pretty good. It's like, well, that's because you let that sit, idiot. So that's my fault.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. And then go back for more. Oh, God. Just go right back. And then I take my Renfest turkey leg.
My banner.
Renfest turkey legs and Shim Sham. See our last episode for that. I'll explain Shim Sham. I was telling the man before we went on that I totally missed that when we were going back and forth. And it's a good thing, because if I had heard it, I would have had to just log off, because when I went back and played the video, it was like, oh man, as soon as you said it, I about fell off the bed. And I was laughing like that. Shim Sham is such a great expression. And I'm like, God dang, I'm lucky I didn't hear that in real time, because I'd have been useless, man.
I got saved by John.
Oh, man.
Praise him.
Praise him. Thank you, Stashlemania. We love you. We're in this together. I was gonna say, I realized that started to sound like an email these days.
Now more than ever.
More than ever.
John. We need John more than ever. We're gonna get through this together.
God, they brought Stossel back into our lives for these trying times.
Yes. Man, that's the jam. That's what's up.
Thank you for the lowdown on the horrible show tonight.
I hate it to be like that, because it's kind of I haven't heard anybody else's reviews or takes on it yet. I'm just expect everybody to be kind of down on it, but it feels like that's kind of what our lot in life is as wrestling fans. But this one was one of those for the most part, one of my favorite phrases in the world is "for the most part."
Oh yeah.
We're just supposed to be down on stuff like that, but with the time that they had to put something together. And you've seen what they can do when it comes to Funhouse and the Graveyard. Like I went in with high hopes, and I was like, I was expecting more from this one, and it's one of those deals, my man.
I'm trying to not be like too critical of stuff, because I understand that that it's different. It's a weird time, man. But I felt really bad, because I was looking forward to. The AEW show, and it really does seem like I'm forgetting something that I actually quite enjoyed, and I hate that I've done that, because boy, I sure tripped on the stuff I didn't like. Mm-hmm. But they did Cody and Janela first, and I understand that I trip on Corny and Last a lot, because I disagree with them a lot, but sometimes I totally agree with them, and boy, Janela, I couldn't agree more. Joey Janela looks like a trash can version of Jericho in his Lionheart days. It's just like that guy is awful, man. He's awful. But him and Cody didn't really do it for me. I can't remember what all I saw, man. I thought that Brian Last's assessment of the Britt Baker / Brandy Rhodes thing, I thought he nailed it, because Brandy Rhodes is going to do whatever she has to. Brandy Rhodes is literally everything people have said Stephanie McMahon is, and it sucks. I hate that it's like that, but it's like, you're going to force your way into everything on this show. The better part was the little interview, and Brian Last, I thought he nailed this. I think this is what I have thought. I thought he said it better than I have. So I'm going to rip him off. But he's talking about her package promos, and he's like, this is the Brandy Rhodes auditions for a role as a super villainess on one of the CW superhero shows. And I was like, that's exactly what it feels like she's doing every time she starts talking. It's like, this is not working. And then they get discussing, you've got the Dark Order come out and beat up Moxley, and it's all stupid because, the main thing, and this is another thing, I'm happy that Corny and Last will actually trip on Moxley about this, because the guy doesn't sell anything. And I'm like, brother, if you get more than 3 consecutive moves on offense on that guy, it's an act of God. It is so boring, man, that no matter what you do, 1, 2, oh, I'm coming back, come on, hit me. I hate that. I can't stand that style when anybody does it, but at least when Bill Goldberg or Hawk and Animal do it, it looks believable. John Moxley looks like somebody that I could beat the crap out of, so I just don't buy it. I can't stand that guy, and that's part of the reason why. So the Dark Order come out and beat the crap out of him, and he cuts a promo after they're done, and it's like, this is the stupidest thing ever. And I don't quite understand what the point of feeding Brody Lee, or whatever his name is now, to Moxley immediately is, unless I had this one idea, and I'm sorry to go back into it, but I knew there was something I wanted to ask you. If they are bringing, it is Brody Lee now, Luke Harper, Brody Lee. If they're bringing Brody Lee in, and oh yeah, he's the exalted one, he's the leader of the Dark Order, la-di-da, and his first order of business is to challenge Moxley for the title, ain't no way he's getting that title. So if Moxley beats him, okay, you've got nothing to do with this guy, unless, what if it's the catalyst for him breaking up the frickin' Dark Order and you can get out from underneath that albatross? Maybe that would work. I got thinking about it and I was like, that might work, man.
Just end it before, it gets, too, well, it already is too boring, but
it is.
Before it goes too far beyond anything we can, try to make good.
That's what I'm thinking too, is like, it just seems obvious it's time to get out from underneath this thing, so maybe that's what they're going to do, because then you bring him in and he loses his first match. Well, hey, man, if he makes the big shakeup and breaks up the faction and all that, well, okay, at least he, got a little shine on him at the end. And boy, we'd all love him if he got rid of the Dark Order, because I don't know anyone that likes that crap, man. Even people that love AEW hate that stuff. So I got thinking about that, and I'm like, well, I kind of hope that's what they're going to do, because they're not bringing him in to take the title off of Ambrose. So it's like, well, I don't see anything else useful coming out of that. But then I was like, well, that's pretty useful though. So I'm hoping that's what we're going to see.
Cool.
Yeah, man. Anyway, I'm done now, I promise.
It's in the Dark Order and the Librarians all in one shot.
God. Yeah, seriously, that would be fantastic. Oh, who was the hacker? Did they reveal who the hacker was?
Oh, nah, that's more just stringing it along. People were expecting to get an answer on that tonight. I thought, man, they ain't gonna do that.
Yeah,
we all know it's CM Punk anyway. CM Punk is Sting.
It's pretty hard. It's why I wouldn't, do anything about it. It's why I wouldn't say anything, because all the CM Punk kids are gonna run wild with it, and whether it's who cares. But I would love it. I'd crack my ass up if it was, because who cares, man? But it doesn't matter. It's like, you brought him back, it didn't matter. Bring him back full time, see what happens. Because I guarantee you bring CM Punk back full time, he will be Kenny Omega in a week. Well, he's not as good as he used to be. Yeah, it's because you ain't 20 anymore. Mm-hmm. Whether you like it or not, that nostalgia stuff is poison, man. It's like, no, it's not what you. Oh man, it'll be like it used to be. Stop. I can't stand that junk, man.
I will find out soon enough, but it's like we're just saying, like every theory I've heard of, it's kind of like, I don't care. I don't care.
For real, I don't care, man.
But man, that's what's up.
Yeah, man, take it easy, brother.
I'll see y'all.